we know that the Fulton County District Attorney in Georgia has opened an investigation into R. Kelly, and also the Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. She has made a public call for folks to call her office for information that could lead to him being arrested and indicted. I earlier talked to Kim Foxx about that. Here's my conversation with the Cook County State's Attorney. First and foremost, you made this call yesterday for information with regards to R. Kelly. I would assume that was all based upon the response to the Lifetime documentary.
That's right. We had received a number of phone calls in the days since the documentary aired where people had raised concerns about what information they had and what was potentially could happen as a result. And so what we realized was one, there was not an open investigation, that people had a lot of information, but we would not be in a position to even have an investigation if folks weren't willing to share whatever information that they had. And so that is why we made the call, because there was this expectation that something would happen. But in order for anything to happen, we need the participation of the public.
Explain to folks statute of limitations, because that really speaks to what's going on here. We know in murder cases there's no statute of limitations, but when it comes to being involved with an underage girl, what are the statutes? And also, of course, we saw with the documentary that there were several individuals who are of age and they had wellness checks, but they said, I'm fine. Is there anything that you can do? So explain to people, legally what you really can do.
Yeah, so the statute of limitations for felonies in Illinois is 3 years. There are specific statute of limitations depending on sex assault, sex abuse, domestic violence. And the laws have changed during the course of the last 20 or so years, where the sex abuse or sex assault cases now have a longer window, depending on what the law was at the time of the incident. So without going into the weeds, we're looking at anywhere between 3 and upwards of 25 years. And again, having not fully vetted some of the information that we've gotten, we're not just talking about incidents of sex with underage minors. We're talking about instances of domestic violence, sexual abuse, sex without consent, based on some of the preliminary information that we have. So there's no one statute that we're looking at. And again, depending on the time period, we can be talking about anything from a few months ago all the way back to 25 years.
Gotcha. So again, if it doesn't matter if somebody, let's say, is 35 years old today, if they were involved with R. Kelly or anybody else 20 years ago, you still have a period of time there.
Right, potentially. So that's why it's important that if anyone has information, that they bring it to us so that we can break down the time period in which the act had happened, and what the existing laws were at the time, to see if we have any extensions in the statute. And again, I think it's really important because people are talking just about one component of this, which is age, but there is also questions that have been raised around consent and around domestic violence and the others. And so I think it's important that if someone has information that they feel is relevant, that they make the phone call so that we can vet that information out.
You also, in this case, you have to deal with the reality that, who can come forth? Is it a question of the alleged victim, or is it family members or parents? Because we saw in the case where he was tried, where you had some family members who said that the young girl in the video wasn't, they were able to confirm her identity, but other family members said that was not her. The young woman, she never testified, so she wasn't the one who came forward. It was with this videotape. And so explain that to folks as well. Who can actually get, frankly, a case moving forward? Is it the person who was victimized, or could it be a family member?
Yeah, I mean, I think information that leads to additional information can come from anywhere. So it can be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be someone who witnessed something while they were out. To your point, if we are going to have enough information based on the facts, the law, and the evidence to see if there's a case that can be proven, certainly we would have to have an actual victim. someone to say that this, in fact, did happen to me and can give context to when, where, how it happened. So launching, someone else can bring the information forward, but we will need to have an actual victim. The Constitution affords anyone the opportunity to confront their accusers. And I want to be very clear. Our call for people to bring us information is not based on the assumption that Mr. Kelly will be found guilty. But we can't even get to the question if people are reluctant to engage us with whatever information that they have.
Last question. We know that based upon the documentary, there were people who were flown to other cities and states. If someone is currently residing in Chicago, but let's say something allegedly happened in another state, how do they, does that impact your jurisdiction? But also, let's say there's somebody who is living in another state and they were actually flown to Chicago. So explain that as well.
Certainly. So under Illinois law, we would be responsible just for those acts that happened here in Cook County, so Chicago and our surrounding suburbs. If someone is from another state, but they were here and an act happened here and they left and went back, it's where the act occurred, not where you were a resident. And so if something happened while you were in Illinois and you now live, in New York, you are more than welcome to give us a call and we can get that information. If you believe that something has happened in another state that had nothing to do with Illinois and you reach out to us, we can provide that information to the jurisdiction where that incident occurred.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.